At 5:15 p.m., the relative calm along the Donetsk-Luhansk frontier was violently shattered. The evening sky erupted in fire as Russian Federation forces unleashed one of the most concentrated and powerful combined arms assaults of the entire conflict. The operation began with a massive preparatory artillery barrage designed to obliterate Ukrainian forward defensive positions. The opening salvo came from 240 BM-30 Smerch multiple launch rocket systems firing in near-perfect unison. These 300mm rockets, each weighing over 800 pounds and carrying high explosive or submunition warheads, streaked across the sky like comets. Their fiery trails converged on Ukrainian defense lines, and when they struck, the earth itself seemed to tear apart. Reinforced bunkers vanished in blinding flashes. Concealed artillery pits and radar outposts were shredded into twisted metal. The ground trembled with continuous detonations, rolling like thunder across miles of battlefield. This was not random destruction, it was strategic annihilation. The Russian intent was clear: create a breach wide enough for armored formations to surge through with minimal resistance. Moments later came the second wave of preparatory fire. From rear launch sites, 49K-720 Iskander-M short-range ballistic missiles roared into the sky, their exhaust trails spiraling upward before they accelerated to hypersonic speeds, far too fast to intercept. These missiles were aimed at high-value targets deep behind Ukrainian lines: ammunition depots, fuel hubs, airstrips, and hardened command centers. Each impact sent shockwaves powerful enough to shatter windows miles away, with fireballs rising hundreds of feet into the air. Within minutes, Ukraine's layered defense network was under enormous pressure. Communications jammed, sensors blinded, and logistical arteries torn apart. It was a textbook application of Russian deep battle doctrine: overwhelm, paralyze, and crush the enemy before the ground assault even begins. Under this cover of fire, the engineering vanguard began to move. 20 UR-77 meteorite mine-clearing vehicles advanced through the inferno, each launching explosive line charges across suspected minefields. The resulting detonations cleared lanes nearly 100 meters long, corridors through which the main attack force could pass. Behind them came the heart of the Russian assault: 55 T-90M Proryev main battle tanks, each a 48-ton behemoth clad in Contact 5 explosive reactive armor and equipped with advanced active protection systems. Their 125mm smoothbore cannons, firing at speeds over 5,500 feet per second, were ready to engage any surviving Ukrainian armor. Flanking these steel giants were 900 elite VDV paratroopers, Russia's most feared shock troops. Armed with AK-12 rifles, grenade launchers, and Kornet anti-tank missiles, they rode forward in armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles. Their mission? Suppress infantry defenses, protect the tanks' flanks, and clear trenches. In total, the force that rolled toward the Ukrainian lines represented over $1.1 billion worth of advanced weaponry. For Moscow's commanders, this was meant to be a flawless demonstration of might, a breakthrough that would crush Ukrainian defenses in hours. But General Alexander Syrskyi, commanding the Ukrainian defense, had prepared for exactly this scenario. Drawing lessons from brutal battles like Bakhmut, Syrskyi had built a flexible defense in-depth strategy. He didn't intend to meet the assault head-on, he intended to absorb it. His lines were layered, deceptive, and built to lure the Russians into kill zones pre-mapped for destruction. Hidden within dense forest belts along the expected axis of advance were 40 M270 multiple launch rocket systems and 48 M142 HIMARS launchers. Their GPS-guided rockets had preloaded coordinates for every probable Russian route, staging area, and command post. Overhead, 12 F-16 Fighting Falcons patrolled in shifts, armed with AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles and precision targeting pods. Their job was twofold: destroy Russian air cover and feed real-time targeting data to ground artillery. Meanwhile, Ukrainian special forces, armed with Javelin anti-tank missiles and Stinger man-pads, lay hidden on the flanks. Their orders were simple: stay invisible, let the Russians commit fully, and then strike the flanks and rear once the enemy was trapped inside the kill zone. At 5:42 p.m., disaster struck for the advancing Russians. One of the UR-77s accidentally launched its line charge over a concealed Ukrainian ammunition cache. The resulting explosion was cataclysmic, a massive underground detonation that obliterated 10 Russian vehicles instantly, tossing tank turrets and wreckage into the air like toys. For a brief moment, confusion rippled through the Russian ranks. The assault column halted, unsure whether they had hit a minefield or come under Ukrainian fire. From his command post, General Syrskyi coolly assessed the situation and ordered, "Hold positions." He correctly guessed the Russians would misinterpret the blast as a successful strike on Ukrainian defenses rather than a blunder in their own line. That brief pause was all Ukraine needed.
Moments later, the sky lit up again, but this time it was Ukrainian fire. The 12 F-16s swooped in from altitude, their radars locking onto 7 Russian K-52 Alligator attack helicopters providing overwatch. Within seconds, volleys of AMRAAM missiles streaked toward their targets. The helicopters exploded mid-air, 7 fireballs marking the loss of Russia's eyes and air support. Then came the HIMARS counterstrike. 96 GMLRS rockets rose into the dusk and curved downward toward the stalled Russian armor. The precision was surgical. Within 5 minutes, 22 T-90M tanks were destroyed or disabled, many with their turrets blown clean off.
The surviving Russian commanders, furious and disoriented, ordered retaliatory fire. BM-30 Smerch launchers redirected their rockets toward suspected HIMARS positions, one salvo scoring a hit on a Ukrainian forward post and killing several soldiers. But it was too little, too late. Ukraine's M270 systems retaliated instantly, firing 40 more rockets into Russian staging zones. Entire infantry companies were shredded, command vehicles vanished in firestorms, communications collapsed. By 6:05 p.m., less than an hour after the ground attack began, the Russian armored spearhead had already lost nearly 1/3 of its strength. From the forests, Ukrainian special forces opened fire. Dozens of Javelin missiles streaked into the flanks of disorganized tank formations, destroying another 7 vehicles. Russian VDV troops dismounted and returned fire with Kornet missiles, managing to destroy 1 Ukrainian vehicle, but their attempts at regrouping were futile under constant precision bombardment. By 6:20 p.m., the battlefield had transformed into chaos. Fuel trucks burned like torches, and ammunition trucks erupted in secondary explosions that illuminated the twilight sky. Ukrainian rockets continued to rain down in synchronized salvos, systematically dismantling what remained of the Russian advance.
Above, the F-16s strafed retreating infantry columns with 20mm cannon fire. Russian paratroopers scattered for cover in ditches and ruined houses. Each regrouping attempt was met with another guided strike. By 6:30 p.m., fewer than 20 of the original 55 tanks remained operational. Russian artillery attempted a desperate counter-barrage, firing over 400 shells in 15 minutes, but without aerial spotting or command coordination, most shells hit empty ground. At 6:45 p.m., the Russian assault had collapsed completely. Infantry losses exceeded 350 dead or wounded. What remained were isolated pockets of men fighting blindly without leadership or communication.
The final blow came just before 7 p.m. A combined HIMARS M270 strike located and obliterated the main Russian field command post, killing several senior officers. With their leadership decimated, the surviving units could only fight defensively until their ammunition ran out. As darkness fell, Ukrainian mechanized brigades swept in to encircle and capture hundreds of exhausted Russian soldiers. The once formidable armored spearhead was now a graveyard of burning T-90s and shattered vehicles. What Moscow had envisioned as a swift, surgical breakthrough had become one of its most disastrous defeats in a single day. The battlefield glowed with wreckage, smoke, and silence. The message was unmistakable. Brute force had met precision and lost. Ukraine's disciplined, intelligence-driven defense had not just held, it had humiliated a superior force. And as images of destroyed Russian tanks and captured VDV paratroopers spread across global media, the psychological shock rippled far beyond Donetsk. This was not just a tactical victory, it was a lesson in the future of warfare, where strategy, patience, and precision would always triumph over raw firepower.